Hello, it's Bill, the Knee Pain Guru, and welcome to a very impromptu call with a martial arts buddy of mine, Elijah. And I want to give a little bit of context. Well, first of all, welcome, Elijah. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Bill. It's an honor and a privilege.
So I want to give everyone a context of how this call came about today. I messaged you on Facebook, and you have been dealing with a knee thing for several months and asked me a question. And I was like, this is a very common occurrence that I run into clients with. And I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to ask you to come on. We could do a live recorded call. So there was absolutely no, like, when I woke up this morning, this isn't what I was thinking we were going to do today, but here we are. And what I wanted to do is help you with your situation, like give you a context and a strategy for how so many people find themselves in the situation with their knees, and then use it to be able to record so others that are also suffering with similar situations, be them martial artists or otherwise, can benefit from it. So here's where we are. So welcome again, Elijah, and maybe share your background, like what you do, and then your situation.
Sure. So, as you know, Bill, I'm a longtime martial artist, and currently for the last decade or so, I've been practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a ground fighting martial art. So we do a lot of drilling and on the ground. And I know it sounds bad; people could take it out of context, but I spend a lot of time on my knees because we're just, doing ground techniques, and there's no point in standing up in between the techniques. So I spend a lot of time on my knees. So back in November, after class, my knee just was a little bit sore. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what I had done to tweak it, but the next day it was very difficult to walk on. And I thought, okay, just like injuries are just part of the nature of the beast. It's just part of the package. You have to pay to play, so to speak. So I thought it would just kind of go away and heal up by itself. And what ended up happening was my knee started to swell up with what we call water on the knee. And it was the first time that I'd ever really experienced this water on the knee thing.
Mm-hmm.
So time elapsed. I thought, just trust the body to do what it does. The body has that ability to heal. But months passed and it wasn't getting any better. And I tried the old rice formula, rest, ice, compression, elevation.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is a massage therapist, so I was getting a little bit of massage, and she has an ultrasound machine. I tried that a few times, but just literally nothing was making my body reabsorb the fluid that I could feel right on my left kneecap, right around the patella.
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where I thought, okay, I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get this thing drained. So that's exactly what I did a couple of weeks ago. And they removed a substantial amount of a red, clear liquid out of my knee capsule.
Mm-hmm.
It's not blood. It's a little bit lighter than blood. It reminded me of stuff that I would drain out of my cauliflower ears back in the day when I was having the issue with the ears. So they removed a fair amount of liquid from my knee, and lo and behold, my knee just automatically started refilling again. And I thought, well, I can't continuously go back to the doctor to drain my knee. I'm going to have to start doing this myself. And so that's what I've been doing for about the last 2 weeks, removing several syringes a day of this clear blood-like liquid from my knee capsule. So it got to the point, and it just kind of, you came up, I saw you on Facebook, and I thought, you know what, the Knee Pain Guru, that's the man I should probably run this by and see if he's got any suggestions for me.
Sure. Okay. Got it. And I'm actually trying to get the image to be able to share the image of the vials. So you had you sent over a picture of 2 of the vials.
Yeah, and she had actually drained 3 of the vials. We just took a picture of the 2.
Okay.
She'd thrown them in the garbage and said, "Oh, hey, do you want to take a picture of those?" And I thought, you know what? Why not? So she took 2 out, but she drained 3. It was quite a significant amount of liquid that had been drained.
Okay. I'm having technical challenges getting the images from one computer to another. So if you have any, I can actually let you share your screen if you want, to be able to show the vials of fluid what you're.
I might be able to dig it up here, Bill. Bear with me. I don't know. Can you see?
Let me see. The screen froze.
Okay.
And I'm seeing if maybe sometimes the feed gets a little slow to be able to bring up the image. It's not that big a deal. But you have a couple of ounces of fluid that you're pulling out of your knee each.
Yeah.
Now, is that every day?
It's every day. Like it's gotten to the point now where I'm just so immune to it. Like I used to freeze my knee before I would withdraw the fluid. Now my knee is like a pin cushion. I just go right in, withdraw the fluid, rinse and repeat.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's what I like doing when I like working with anybody, I like them to understand the process of what their body is doing and why their body is doing it. And I use a lot of analogies. And what we're going to talk about is your lymphatic system, your nervous system in one respect, and your lymphatic system in another respect. Now, your nervous system plays a role. When I'm talking about your nervous system, we're talking about your brain, your spinal column, the nerves that go out to all parts of our body. When you train, when you live your life, you have stress, you have accidents, injuries, surgeries, traumas. The nervous system is playing a role in all of that. It's functioning, it's operating, it's taking in information, it's trying to process that information, and it's trying to function in a certain way. And when the body gets to a point where it either doesn't know how to or doesn't have the capacity to process this information, like a fuse blows. So you think of it like a fuse in the house. Your neurology blows. Some people can refer to that as trauma, the body dealing with stuff. And nowadays people get into trauma and they think it's like this huge, big cathartic release that people need to go through. But we have these little, it's like stress that builds up in the neurology, which is essentially the same terminology that we're looking at. And what ends up happening is it creates like a snapshot of the experience. So let's say heel hook, which is a move in jiu-jitsu. You're like, the pucker factor goes up. It's like somebody is trying to pry on your leg. And now there's you're in a competition, even though you may just be rolling with somebody on the ground, there's a competition element involved. So you're wanting to win. And then there's the threat of injury. The nervous system sees it as a threat. So it will lock on to protect the knee from getting injured. That creates a tension pattern that once you've escaped the heel hook and practice is over and you're walking back to your car before you're going to drive home, the nervous system is still holding on to that experience of the heel hook. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you kind of feel it, but if I just walk it off, it'll be okay. That is stuck in your neurology. It's this tension pattern gets stuck in the neurology.
Okay.
Now you try to function and operate in your life. You try to sit, you try to stand, you try to walk, you try to run, you try to go to the gym. You're trying to go back to jujitsu, martial arts, whatever it is.
Yep.
But this pattern is still kind of locked in there, even though it's maybe not on a conscious level. It's stuck in there. Are you with me so far?
Yes, sir.
These experiences build up in our bodies throughout our life. Accidents, injuries, surgeries, traumas, martial arts practice, anything. And it just builds up. And as we get older, these experiences that have built up now begin to limit the range of motion in the joint, our ability to move. And we call it old age. That's just what happens. That's what happens when a martial artist trains for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's just how it functions. And eventually, that tension pattern forms an issue with a joint. Knees, hips, spine, shoulders, elbows, wrists. And that creates what initially was a dysfunction eventually wears away at the joint. Limited range of motion, the joint gets more tense, more painful, more stiff, and you eventually go to the doctor, you get a diagnosis of arthritis. But that's just what happens when we get older. So they say.
Yeah.
All diagnosis of arthritis is dehydrated joint. So it's a lack of fluid in the joint. Lack of fluid, lack of hydration. So now, when you get the arm bar, the heel hook, the shoulder lock, whatever it is, now the joint has less flexibility and there's less ability to fight it as well as go back home after practice without it. You're limping and now you're just feeling older and older. So
yes.
You could see how this begins to develop this idea, this mentality, this belief that this is how the body's supposed to operate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the neurology.
Okay.
That's the nervous system. Now let's go over to the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is our garbage collectors. When cells die, when we're removing waste from our body, from digesting food, or whatever the situation is, our lymphatic system takes that gunk and moves it out. When we have these tension patterns that get stuck in the neurology because of accidents, injuries, surgeries, traumas, these tension patterns that build up, the ability of the lymphatic system to clean itself out becomes limited. The ability to move out toxins, the ability of the body to flush itself out, the ability of the body to drain a joint becomes compromised because of the tension pattern. Just like if I have my hand, squeezing my hand real tight, the knuckles start getting white, the hand starts getting white, and as soon as I let that pressure off, the hand goes from white to pink because I let the tension off of the fist. So when you get the heel hook, the leg lock, the whatever in the joint, you're fighting on your knees, you're crawling around on the ground, the knee, the hips, the lower back tenses up. But the fuse blows and it doesn't know how to open the hand, so to speak. So now the lymphatic system and the body needs movement in order to flush out the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump of its own.
Right.
Movement is required. Movement in the pelvis is required in order to flush the lymphatic system, which is why people who are bedridden, older people who are bedridden, have to have someone come in every day and move them to keep the swelling down in their body. Otherwise, they'll drown in their own fluids. So now we have a situation in the knee that is going on, that your body, the lymphatic system, is trying to get the body to move and flush this fluid out on its own. But we have this tension pattern in the knee joint because the neurology blew a fuse protecting the knee from whatever experience. And it doesn't have to be accident, injury, surgery, trauma. It could just be stress that we have. You're on a long plane ride, you're on a long car trip, and you're holding a tension pattern because you just got off a stressful call. The body can hold on to these tension patterns that doesn't allow the knee to flush itself out. It could show up like swelling of the knee, water on the knee, Baker's cyst. You name the symptom that you get diagnosed by the doctor with, but the underlying principle is the lymphatic system is not able to flush that fluid out. Is this making sense?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so we got the neurology, we got the brain, we got the spinal column, we got the nerves that gives its commands to everything. The muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the fluid, the fascia, all gets its commands from the nervous system, the neurology. And then you got the lymphatic system that is required to have movement in order to flush itself out. And then you have this situation with your knee, that the knee swells up. So it's like you got the tap on the bathtub is flushing, is draining water into the tub, but now we have the plug in the tub and the tub can't drain itself.
Right.
Is this so that now we have the situation with the knee, and it swells up every day because you're drinking water, you're eating like you normally do, everything is going into the body, but now it hits where the knee is. The body doesn't know what to do with it because it's got this tension pattern holding on, and it can't flush itself out. Okay. So this is the underlying pattern that's going on in your physical body that causes the knee to continue to swell up. I'm going to pause there for a second and have you ask any questions, because this is the setup for then how we could begin to course correct.
Okay. So my immediate question is, like, I've kind of just maintained my usual schedule. I'm still training. I just put a knee pad over the affected knee. So I'm still moving. I'm still an active young man.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm wondering is what's going to be the cure-all here? Is it, if it's more movement, I feel like I'm already moving.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. And that is as far as the conventional medical model, that's what they have to offer.
Yeah. When I asked the lady, I said, what happens if my knee refills? Oh, just come back and we'll drain it again. You might require a steroid injection. so
you got draining the knee with a needle.
Yeah.
You got steroid injections to get the knee to heal. They suggest movement. We got RICE therapy, rest, ice, compression, elevation. That's really the upper limit of what the conventional medical model has to offer. Now, this isn't bad on the Western medical model. What if there is something broken or torn in the knee or in the body, I want the Western medical model there to support me in my healing process. But it's also important to understand the limitations of the Western medical model and what they're able to do and what they're not. So we've walked anyone who is like firmly into the conventional medical model to the edge of their belief system that everything of what the Western medical model has to offer has hit their upper limit. Okay? Everything I'm going to talk about from this point is on the other side of that. So we need to have a certain suspension of belief on what we think we know about how the body heals. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about a couple of concepts that may be new. And one is a tensegrity structure. Are you familiar with the tensegrity structure?
I've heard the term. Is it kind of like a spider web? If I pull the web in one area, it's going to affect it in another area, like a domino effect or a chain reaction type thing?
Totally.
Okay.
Is my screen coming up?
Yes, it is.
Okay, excellent. Okay, here's what we want to. So a tensegrity structure is like a bicycle wheel, is like a geodesic dome. And what we're talking about is exactly what you were saying, like a spider web. You have a tension that if you tug on part of that spider web, that tension is going to translate through the rest of the spider web. Just like a bicycle wheel, we have the rim, we have the hub, and we got the tension between the spokes, the rim, and the hub. And when there's a balance of tension between the rim, the hub, and the spokes, you have a structure, a tensegrity structure, that has the capacity to handle hundreds of pounds worth of weight and roll very efficiently. When that bicycle wheel gets imbalanced, meaning we tighten up some of the spokes, don't tighten up other spokes, the wheel gets out of true, the wheel is imbalanced, and now it isn't able to support the weight and it isn't going to roll efficiently. Is that making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So our body is a tensegrity structure. And what I want to do here, I had it up before. The tensegrity structure of the knee. This is super cool. You're going to like this. There was some images in here that is really neat, and it gives a really great example of how the tensegrity structure in the knee works. And it has everything to do with the tendons and the ligaments in the right proportion. Here, this may not be a good image. Hold on a second here. They used to have, when I bring this up, a beautiful example of the tensegrity structure of the knee. There we go. There it is. So you can see how the balance of tension in the joint will create the right relationship between the bone in the upper leg and the bone in the lower leg, the bones in the lower leg. Is that making sense?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So you could see if we did, let's say, a heel hook. We got this little move going on where we're prying the heel and twisting the ankle, and how it's going to start torquing the knee in an external rotation, or I'm sorry, an internal rotation. And as the knee locks into place and you're resisting that, it actually excites the nervous system. And the scenario with the fuse blowing can lock the knee in a pattern that makes it difficult for the lymphatic system to clean itself out. How are we doing?
So it sounds like there's like a blockage.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
There's a blockage in the knee. We have the here is the knee joint, and you're looking at the MCL, the PCL, the ACL, the LCL, all the different ligaments, and the right balance of tension in those ligaments create the tensegrity structure of the knee joint. That starts getting stressed in the tendons, the ligaments, the fluid, the fascia, the muscles in the knee joint from the heel hook. And now all of a sudden the knee joint gets compromised. The nervous system blows the fuse, holds on to a tension pattern, and that blockage occurs.
Okay.
Okay, let me get out of here. Wait a minute. Gotta remove this. Okay, so this is essentially kind of what we're dealing with. I wanted to paint that bigger picture so we get to this point, and it's like, that's why your knee's not draining on its own.
Right.
Like we're talking about your ears.
Yep.
There's tension patterns that happen in the body as a result of accident, injury, surgery, trauma that prevents the body from draining itself. It ties in with the neurology. It ties in with the lymphatic system. They are interconnected, interwoven. And then what happens is you have this situation where you're draining the fluid and it comes back. You're draining the fluid and it comes back. The joint's compromised. And let me say this. If you go and get an X-ray, a CT scan, or an MRI,
yes,
they're going to be normal.
Well, that's exactly what happened. They did take an X-ray of my knee, and they said, "Oh, the knee joint's fine."
Right.
And they wanted to eliminate the, I guess the chance that there could be damage to one of those aforementioned ligaments.
And that's a necessary precaution. Like you always want to do that, no matter what's going on with your knee, your body. We want to make sure we have the medical model there just to be sure that we're not dealing with something that is broken or torn.
Right.
Because if you're dealing with something that's broken or torn, and there's a different element of it. There's a mechanical piece that either needs time to heal. Think broken bone. Think torn muscles, strained joint. Something that may need time to heal. So we have to rule out with an X-ray, a CT scan, or an MRI to go, nothing's broken, the joint's fine.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about, they may refer to it as soft tissue damage. They may refer to it as a sprain or a strain or something like that in the joint. But from a Western medical model perspective, everything's going to be good. Nothing's going to be wrong with the joint. That's what we want to hear.
Yes.
We want to make sure nothing's broken or torn. Now we can get to working on bringing the balance back to the tensegrity structure.
Okay.
The interconnected series of pulleys and levers that make up the knee, the hip, the lower back, the ankle, the foot, all of that goes into when, like you were talking about the spider web, you tug on the spider web just a little bit and it affects the rest of it. That's what's going on. Something is out of balance somewhere.
Okay.
Going back into the conventional medical model, what's going to happen is they're going to say, we need to strengthen what's weak. There's something going on in your body that's weak. And I would argue something didn't become weak overnight.
Right.
Something else, like a fuse blew, something spasmed, tensed up to protect the body from the threat, the accident, the injury, the surgery, the trauma, blew a fuse, and now tightened up. So if we go back in there and we start to strengthen what's tight, we already have a neurological dysfunction going on, creating an imbalance, and we just create a stronger neurological dysfunction. Okay?
If we try and strengthen what's already strong.
What's already strong.
Right.
Well, okay, slight correction. Not what's already strong, but what is considered weak.
Okay.
If we strengthen what is perceived or even tested as weak, what's strong is going to get stronger because it's there to protect the joint. So the analogy is, we aren't raising the bridge, we're lowering the river. We don't want to fight the body with what it's already doing.
Okay.
We want to listen to the body so the body relaxes. When the body relaxes, it comes back into balance with less effort, with less energy, with less time. It does it faster. Because now, instead of strengthening, so you got this is tight, instead of strengthening what's weak to make it even with what's tight, which just makes this tighter, we're going to do this. We're going to relax what's tight and bring the balance to the body.
Okay.
Just the opposite. These are martial arts principles. Like these concepts that we're talking about. It's judo, jiu-jitsu principles. Your opponent pushes on you, you don't push back. You pull.
Right.
Like your opponent pulls on you, you don't pull back, you push while maintaining your balance. So if this is tight, we don't make it tighter, we relax it.
Makes sense.
In doing so, and the balance is brought back to the body, the joint relaxes, the fluid can now flow through. We balance the pelvis. Now, this is what I wrote you. It's like in the text this morning, or in our message this morning, I was like, we got to bring balance to the joint, and we got to balance the pelvis. So the past half hour was building up that context to understand we create comfort in the knee, because comfort in the knee will relax the tension in the knee and bring balance to the knee. We bring comfort to the pelvis, which would bring balance to the pelvis. And now the lymphatic system can flush itself out easier. And the neurology is more in a parasympathetic state. Parasympathetic state is rested and relaxed. We moved it from a sympathetic state, which was the fight or flight state that happened during the accident, the injury, the surgery, or the trauma. Move it to that balanced place. Now we test the body to see how it functions and operates. And we also see what your awareness is, because the part of this process is increasing your awareness. Whenever the body is stressed and it moves to a sympathetic state, there's a decrease in awareness that takes place. Like the neurology, like if we go to a martial arts self-defense perspective, when the body is under extended stress, trauma, when it's tortured, the nervous system has to shut things down in order to deal with what it's experiencing. It can't handle it. It can't keep going on and on and on, and feel everything the nervous system has to feel, because you'll pass out.
Right.
So it's got to shut things down, and we disconnect our brain from what's going on with our physical body, our emotions from what's going on in our physical body. Is this?
Yep.
This
I'm
is
following you.
This is on the other side of the conventional medical model. And this is what we're bringing to the table, going, this is why there's a limitation of people healing and what you could begin doing to get the body on the other side of that place so we could start healing what's going on. Is that how we doing?
I'm following you, Bill. Yep, makes sense.
Okay, cool. This is the part of the presentation where I go into the shameless plug about the program that I offer online. I've been doing this for 15 years. I got into it because I dislocated my left knee 4 times, and I tore my ACL, and I tore 2 pieces of meniscus, and I had the surgery, and I did the physical therapy, and I was in my late 20s, and the docs and the PTs were like, yep, this is all we got. And I was still limping. My knee was still swollen. I felt old, like old in my late 20s, and was like, come on, there's got to be something more than this. And I began studying body work, and that's when I got into Systema, Russian martial art, because there's a huge healing component with Systema. And then an osteopathically based style of body work that was developed by a British osteopath who was also a judo instructor. So he took judo principles and applied this osteopathic concept of comfortable body positioning and developed an entire style of body work. And then at the same time, I was studying Systema, which has a huge healing component to it, strengthening the tendons, ligaments, and fascia in the joints to build the structure, using breathing to relax the body, keep it in a parasympathetic state as much as possible. So after studying both of those for a while, it got to a place where it was like, nobody's talking about this. And the reason I studied the body work because I wanted to get my knee out of pain, not because I wanted to become a practitioner and work on other people. So after a while, became a practitioner, an instructor, teaching martial arts and all that, and got to a place where it was like, oh, I can move this online. And I did. So that the whole Knee Pain Guru developed in 2008 as a result of realizing that the docs and the PTs, the conventional medical model, were only able to take it so far. So this falls in a very different category because it's not physical therapy, and it's not massage, and it's not exercise, and it's like it falls in this really weird, it's like the Venn diagram of all of those different things. But in this, I see it as a blind spot in the reason why people aren't healing. And so, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I have a program that I've developed and refined online. And what I've done, and here I'll share my screen here with you. So for those that are watching, I'll do one of these little deals. So
all I can say, Bill, is if this program is going to clear up the water on my knee, sign me up.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let me just go through the motions of explaining this, and then we can go ahead and take care of that after the call. So the program is called Knee Club. And it was kind of the idea, like, Fight Club, first rule of Knee Club, you don't talk about Knee Club. Second rule is you don't talk about Knee Club. And third rule is you follow rule 1. Anyhow, so Knee Club is the program. And let me share my screen here. Is the screen showing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the homepage. For those that are watching, I offer a complimentary consultation, 15-minute consultation to talk about your knee situation. Because honestly, what I offer doesn't work for everybody. And the main reason why I wouldn't offer it wouldn't work is because people don't want to put in the time, energy, or effort to get the help that they need.
They want the magic pill.
They want the magic pill. They want someone else to do it for them. And in that case, I would, people want to get the knee replacement. They just want to have the surgery. They want to see what the medical model can do. And then if that doesn't work, they usually end up really in a depressed place going, okay, I've tried everything. What do you got? Anyhow, so I offer a consultation. I have right here at the top, it's these products, and these are the different programs that I have. Knee Club Lite is just the access to the videos. I have several hundred videos that I've created based on where your knee is bothering you. So I would point you, well, in Knee Club Lite, you just get the videos. Knee Club Premium is $120 a month. We have 2 calls per week on Mondays and Thursdays. You get access to the videos, and it's a Zoom call. And what I'm doing is I'm listening to what you're telling me is going on with your knee. And I go to the specific, let's see if this, so this is the members area. So I have a quick start guide. So whenever a person signs up for Knee Club, they begin working with the quick start guide. It's got a 5-step process. So someone could sign up at 2 a.m. They can't sleep because they have knee pain. They could sign up and they could begin working with the specific modules that I found as a template. It works for most everyone. And then based on what they sign up for, whether it be the Knee Club Lite, they could just begin working. The Knee Club Premium, that'll give them something to do before the next call. So we have a call going on here in a couple of hours, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, and we jump on the call and you begin working with what's in the quick start guide, and then you tell me what you're noticing. Are you getting relief? Is the swelling, is it different? Is the pain different? Is the range of motion different? What are you noticing as a result of working with the quick start guide? And that gives me an idea of how we need to customize the program, fine-tune your experience to get you better results in a shorter period of time. And then there's the private coaching, which is $500 a month, but it's basically I'm using this Knee Club clinic here to give you the specific videos that are going to make the difference in the part of your knee that's bothering you. So for you, it would definitely begin working with modules 1, modules 2, and modules 40 for your knee, and then modules 22 and 23 for your hips and lower back to begin creating, loosening up the pelvis to get the lymphatics. Yeah, lymphatics moving. Let me see. Let me stop this. It's a simple It's simple. I'm there to coach you. The more you participate, the more you engage, the more you ask questions, the more you try to see and look, because this is challenging you to look deeper into that place of uncertainty. Like, I'm not sure what I feel. It feels weird. What does that mean? I don't get it. Great. That allows me to kind of walk you through that experience to begin to look for different things. Because I've been on the other side of that for the past 2.5 decades, going, oh my gosh, this is absolutely fascinating over here. And in that space, this allows, we're talking about universal principles of how the body heals. And we are essentially dialoguing in that space to go, well, I didn't know my knee held tension that way. I didn't know my fibula was connected up to my shoulder in the tension pattern, or how I was protecting this or that. And when it starts letting go and letting loose, you have more access to how your body moves, to how your body functions. So, yeah, that's it's not terribly complicated. You're just open to being coached and open to not knowing, and like kind of at the place where what you have been offered this far isn't working, and you're like, I got to do something different.
That's it. Yeah. Keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. It's
right. And right now it's like, it's really crazy because of the world that we live in today, and the information that keeps coming out on how contrived, would that be a good word? Contrived the situation is for our health. Like, if we go to get help and support from somebody with letters after their name is, and I personally want to go in there with a level of knowledge and experience and proficiency about my body, so I can ask that medical professional, or I'm utilizing their expertise for what they're good at. I don't want to go in there thinking that they're the be all end all that's going to give me all the answers, because to be honest, they don't know. I'm just being frank. They don't know. They know a lot in a certain area, but they don't know everything. And when I know more about my body, Systema, know thyself. There's that component of Systema, that the more you know about yourself, you can tell what's going on in your body to some degree, and you just need to get a piece of the puzzle in order to put it together.
Yep, exactly.
Anyways, any other questions? Anything about what I explained before, about the program? Anything? I want to make sure I answer all this, and then you and I can talk offline afterwards.
Well, naturally, I've got to ask, what your past success has been with water on the knee, because I know knee pain is kind of such a large, all-encompassing, term. Knee pain can come in many, many different forms, but specific to the water on the knee, how has your experience been with dealing with that specifically?
Great. It's great. It really is. And it's really more of a function. Think of it like you're trying to find a chink in the armor, or maybe better is the bathtub analogy. You're trying to figure out, like, well, I know the tub has a stopper in here somewhere, and I'm kind of feeling around for it to try to figure out, well, where is the stopper? And as soon as you find it, the body drains it. Like, how fast did it swell up?
Fairly fast.
Right.
Yeah, it's refilling very fast.
Right. So if the body can fill that fast, the body can drain that fast. I don't know the combination to that safe. I don't know where the stopper is. I don't know how to tell you how to feel in your knee. This is something you need to explore and tinker with and play around with to see what works and what doesn't work. So I can point you in the direction, and I will answer questions like on those calls. By the way, calls are recorded. So if you can't make the call for whatever reason, you could just send in your questions, and then I read them live on the call, and then you could watch the replay. But the answer is within you. The answer is within your body. I could point you in the direction, I just can't do it for you. I can help you feel it. I can use analogies and symbols and point to things that are kind of like it, that you can feel or that you can identify with in your mind. But ultimately, you feel this within your own body. And when you get the right thing, all of a sudden it's like, that's the spot. That's what's going to drain pattern. That's what's going to drain your knee. Now, is it just in the knee, or do the hips and the lower back tie into it? In the foot? Does the hamstring the quad? Does the shin the calf? Does the fibula? There's a bunch of different combinations that will go into your experience of what's going on in your knee. I could begin giving you tools that you play with and you tinker with to see how it works, see how your gait changes, see how the knee drains differently, see how you sleep better, or there's thousands of ors. I'm just there to coach you through the process to see how you can discover how your own body can heal. So the success is not the burden of the program.
Right.
Like the body heals. Your body wants to heal. That's all it does is heal. If it's not, there's something in the way preventing it from doing so. The key is within you. Figure out how to unlock that. And I'm there to support you as much or as little as you want to participate. So for those that show up on the calls and ask questions and do the homework, they get great results. For those that don't, just like jiu-jitsu.
Like anything.
Like anything. It's like, are they going to show up and do the work, and they'll get the results? They'll work hard. The success may come sooner or later, depending on their ability to understand how to arm lock, how to move on the ground, how to shrimp, how to, all those things. Their success in jiu-jitsu is dependent on that. Their athletic ability, they still got to put in the time, energy, and effort to learn how to do it. So all of it is martial arts principles. I picked it up very quickly because it was all martial arts principles. So, anyhow, is that helpful? I don't know. It's kind of
a way that's awesome.
Give you a non-answer.
Nope, it makes sense to me, Bill.
But yeah, anyhow, how are we doing? It's any more questions? Anything?
Nothing off the top of my head. No. But everything you said makes sense. Very interesting. It's totally in alignment with kind of what I've already known and what I've already experienced in my life. So
cool. For those that are watching the replay, I gave a little bit about Elijah's situation down in the description, and all the links are in the description of this as well, so you can check that out. If you have questions, please type those in the comments section wherever this may pop up for you, and I would see those and answer those on future videos. But anyhow, we could wrap it up for this point, and then we can chat offline for
Sounds
anything
good.
else. Elijah, thank you for your time. I really appreciate your willingness to dialogue with me on this and allowing me to share. So that's been fantastic.
Thank you.
And you're doing jiu-jitsu down in Florida?
Down in Florida, yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. And if you want to get any information about your school, please send that over to me and I can insert that as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, Elijah, thank you so much. We'll end this and see. And we'll see everybody soon. Thank you. This is Bill Paravano, the Knee Pain Guru. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you on the next one.